Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. I'm your host, Susan. I'm here with Dave, Jen, Julie, and Ed. We are here to critique a part of a novella that from middle grade. It's called Of Men and Mice by James Kabler. And I will read the summary, and then Julie is going to read the story for us. Alan and Carter wanted a legendary adventure. Pam and Hannah wanted to see the pigs rumored to live on the top floor. Patch had nothing better to do. What started out as a day of big talk and little action turned into an adventure none of them will ever forget.
Chapter 1. In a dark room, in a hollow wall, in a big house, in a small town, a loud noise woke Patch from a deep sleep. It was a roaring sound rarely heard so early in the morning. In the dim light, Pat saw little brother Carl across the room, hunched in a corner at the top of his bed. Carl clutched his tail with both hands, ears folded back. His eyes were wide like searchlights, frantically scanning the room for the source of the monstrous growl. There was the door, bookshelf, toy box, a beast with the arms of victims dangling from its mouth. The little mouse gasped, and then realized it was his dresser, with the shirt drawer open and sleeves hanging out. When his scan reached Patch, Carl let out a sigh of relief and whispered, "Patch, what was that noise?" "It's okay, kid. That was just the young man's car. He left early." Carl released his tail and slid back under the amazing mouse blanket Grandma gave him for Christmas. "Patch?" "What?" "I can't go back to sleep." "Me either, but we should stay in here until Mom and Dad get up." Carl climbed out of bed and ran across the room, dragging Amazing Mouse behind. He jumped in next to Patch and pulled the blanket tight. "Patch? What? Are Alan and Carter really going to steal food from Abby's dog bowl today?" "That's what they say." "In the middle of the kitchen? In the middle of the day? Are they crazy?" "Don't worry. Those fellas talk big, but they'll chicken out. Alan will come up with some excuse to save face. He always does." Carl was quiet for a few seconds. "Patch, what now? If they do try to steal Abby's food, will you go too?" "Well, if Alan is dumb enough to do it, Carter will be dumb enough to follow, and I'll have to go along." "Why?" "It's hard to explain." "Why?" "Oh, okay, look. The guys and me are starting middle school this fall. In 6th grade, reputation is everything. I don't want to be known as the one who wimped out." Carl tried to object, but Patch continued. "It's all good. Abby's a cool dog. She's just curious. Worst case scenario, we get soaked by that big slobbery tongue." Carl wasn't so easily convinced. "What about the woman? She's in the kitchen all the time. What about that cat, Haley? She's so quiet you won't hear her coming. That cat will do more than just lick." I know. Alan and Carter know too." The sound of voices rode a tantalizing aroma in from the kitchen. Patch gave Carl a punch on the arm. "Let's go, Squirt. Mom and Dad are up, and I smell cheese omelets." Carl sat up and sniffed. His heightened fear of a possible monster had slowly diminished from the moment he saw Patch. Now the smell of Mom's omelets overpowered what little fear lingered. This made way for the usual awareness a little brother has of the torment a big brother might inflict at any moment. In an instant, Carl knew what was coming, but it was too late. Patch pushed him back down and slowly rolled across him, steamroller, to the edge of the bed and up. When Carl finally peeled himself off the bed, he scrambled to the beast dresser and rummaged for clothes. Patch pulled on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt that read, "The early bird might get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese." "What does that mean?" Carl asked, pulling on a pair of striped pants. "Nothing." "Well, something, but it's not for little kids like you. When you're my age, you'll understand." Carl stopped digging for a shirt and looked up at his brother. "Uncle Quincy told me there are whole houses where the mice don't wear clothes." Their mother's brother Quincy is quite a character. He's a fountain of useless information, a barrel of laughs, a jack of all trades, and a storyteller extraordinaire. Naturally, the boys think he's the greatest thing since Cheese Whiz. Uncle Q's right. There are lots of houses where none of the mice wear clothes. They don't have jobs or go to day camp. They don't talk. They also don't have Mom's cheese omelets for breakfast. Carl closed his eyes and tried to imagine such a house. "I wonder what that would be like." Patch chuckled. "You don't have to wonder. Just show up at Mom's breakfast table without clothes and see what it's like." At the thought of that, Carl grabbed the first shirt he saw, put it on quickly, and headed for the kitchen. Patch blocked the door. "Hey, goober, you don't wear striped pants with a checkered shirt. You're starting 1st grade in the fall. Do you really want to be the kid who dresses like a rodeo clown?" He pulled a pair of jeans from Carl's top drawer and turned them right side out. "Here, put these on." While his brother changed, Pat checked himself in the mirror. Carl finished and backed stealthily out of the room. Last one of the kitchen's a dung beetle, he said, closing the door behind him. The two boys crashed into the kitchen, each with his sights on the first cheese omelet. Mom was ready for them this morning. The table was already set with 2 plates of omelets and 2 glasses of milk. Carl hopped up on the chair across from his father. He lifted the edge of his omelet, peered under it, and found it lacking. "Can I have syrup, please?" Their mother, LaRue, was at the stove preparing a spinach omelet for herself. "You most certainly may not, young mouse. Between your grandma and Uncle Quincy, you boys get too many sweets." Their father, James, sat at the head of the table, reading the back half of yesterday's newspaper. Since James is always up and out before the day's paper arrives, he has a habit of reading the front half after dinner each evening and the back half the next morning with his coffee and toast. James holds an important position in the mouse community. He's the duly appointed chief of the Safety and Security Department, which includes himself, 4 officers, a secretary, and a cockroach trained to sniff out decon. The SSD patrols all 3 floors of the house, plus the attic. They have numerous responsibilities, but their main task is to find traps and trip them. Once tripped, they split the cheese. It's one of the perks for taking on such a risky job. The best thing about cheese is you can trade it for almost any other food or useful thing. Except for the teachers and old Doc Thomas, almost all of the adult mice in the house make their living gathering and trading. I like the title of Men and Mice. I just want to note that. It can be
I
overlooked.
thought it was cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah. I like this. I thought it was funny.
Yes.
There were a lot of clever turns of phrase and things that happen in this, like taking pants out of the brother's drawer and turning them right side out. Little stuff
Where
like
are
that.
they?
They're in their
That's a
bedroom.
good question.
But
They're
Don't
mice.
know.
They live in the
They're
walls.
in a
or
human
they live in
house.
the basement. They live
Yeah.
somewhere in the
but
house.
they live in someone's
Where mice
house,
live.
right?
Yeah.
They live in some
Seems
yeah,
like-
house.
Because of the woman and the young man in his car.
This is quite a mouse-infested house.
Yeah, yes,
You know?
it is. Whole society with a Department of
Yeah.
Security and Trade. Whatever it is.
Yep.
Safety.
Yeah, this isn't the first story that was written with the main characters as animals. Disney does it all the time.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that they get down into the animals' heads more than what we're seeing here. This is a cute story, it's got a lot of potential, but if you took mouse out of the story and simply read it, would you know that they are mice?
I was thinking the same thing.
Except
Just
for the
the
tail
tail.
and the cowering.
Oh,
No,
well,
cheese.
these are-
Obsession with cheese.
These are, yeah, you're
Yes,
right.
good question.
Little details. But I think what the person here has to do is to be a little bit more creative about establishing the environment and the atmosphere that they live in. Couple of kids getting up out of bed and mom's cooking omelets in the kitchen. I'm sorry, it's not mice.
Do you say there are holes like Swiss cheese?
Yeah,
I don't know how you keep it every time.
yeah. How could I have missed that?
Well, getting back to food, though, honestly, why is Mom making omelets when the friends are going to steal food from the dog? So
Well-
do they need to repurpose
Well, she
other
doesn't
food,
know.
or do they? No, I understand, but they seem to be eating human food and wearing human-type clothing, and then stealing food from the dog for, I don't know, fun or necessity. I was a little thrown.
And there's also no cat in the house. I mean,
Yes, there is Haley, the cat.
but are they
Yes.
being attacked? Is there something?
Excellent.
Is there somebody running around with a cleaver?
Right.
Again,
Oh, that's good.
I'm going back to Disney and the evil cat going after the mice. There's something with slams. There's no tension here. This is a very normal day one of. Is it the first grade or middle school or something? I forget what it is.
Middle
For
grade.
each
yeah.
boy, middle
and,
school.
So
it's
first
8
year
to
each
12-year-olds.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too typical as humans to make it a cutesy mouse story,
Right.
and it needs to be. I mean, I agree with Ed. A lot of neat details, but you have to lower yourself down to the eye level of the mouse, on the mouse family. Dad's sitting at the table reading yesterday's paper. I mean, really, why isn't he reading the ingredients in Kraft macaroni and cheese or something? It's something different other than people. It's too common, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I would, if you haven't already, read The Tale of Despero, because that is a fantastic kids book. It won the Newbery Medal, actually. And it is, the main character is a mouse, and he lives in a mouse world who lives in a castle where humans live, but it's so good. Sydney
Katie
Sheehan. It's
Camillo.
So good.
There's
Yeah,
another
it's so
story
good.
too that's like that, and I'll have to post it when I do
Stuart
this.
Little.
Let's do it.
It's
Little.
not
But he
Stuart
was
Little.
But he
it's
was the
another-
close. He drives the car,
That's
so
Sydney
he's very
Republic.
human.
The Borrowers, the Littles. There's a family of mouse inside a house.
Still not that
Littles
one.
are people.
No, the Littles are
Yeah.
people.
But it's the
Borrowers?
same thing where you've got these mice living in a
Borrowers,
house. They're living in a dollhouse inside the larger house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
not
that's cool, I
familiar.
like that.
Yeah.
Did they make it, or did they just moved in?
Yeah, just moved in probably.
It was there.
They've been there. And my
that-
this is funny, but my daughter happens to be here for the filming. So Sydney, if you happen to remember the name of that book with all the mice, then I want you to yell it out. Because I know she'll know.
One thing you mentioned was something that I noticed was, had to do with the danger. So they're planning on doing this raid on the dog's bowl.
Yes.
Okay? And the little brother's kind of worried about
Oh.
it. And the big brother just explains it away. Oh, the worst that's going to happen is this, which I feel is a mistake.
Crank it down.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like saying, with the Hobbit, it's like, oh, there'll be dragons, but, here's your anti-dragon spray.
Right.
So there's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, there could be a whole plan, an invasive plan that you'll go there and we'll watch out for you, and then.
Or he could say that to the brother, but be thinking in his head, I wish that were true.
We'll
Yeah.
take it a step
Something
back.
like that.
The first lines, they're woken up by a noise.
Right.
So instead of just being the father driving off, have it be a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Something
right.
that they don't recognize,
Yeah,
and
some
then you've got
dangerous
tension
thing.
right
Right
from
off the top,
start.
yeah.
And it might not be danger, it's just like we'd say, it might not be danger on a human level. It's what would be dangerous to the mouse.
Yeah, an opening thread is always good. It'll keep people reading.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that you mention that, because that's going to be the event that kicks off the story, right? And I think it's also okay that you set up what normal is in the beginning. I think there's a little bit too much play-by-play. You don't have to go through, putting on the clothes, and I think you can shorten a lot. I think there's some backstory in here, like about Uncle Q and what the father does for work that can happen later on that slows it down. But I think I like the relationship between the brothers. I think that's sweet. I like that you mentioned the plan for the dog, the dog bowl, because that's going to be like, okay, something bad's going to happen. Everything's going to go wrong. I agree with you guys that that Pat shouldn't just kind of brush it off. It should be like, yeah, we're going to do this today. The other thing is that you head hop. So you're in Patch's head,
Yeah.
and then you're in Carl's head. So whose story is this? Is it Patch's or Carl's? So stay in whoever's story it is, stay in that head.
Well, there's a narrator too, right?
No,
No?
there's no
I mean-
narrator.
So maybe
No,
it's
but
just
you're
the
right.
back-
I
Yeah.
mean, because it starts off with Patch, but
Right.
within 3 paragraphs, we're in Carl.
Right.
And a lot of the rest of it is from Carl's point of view.
Right.
Because he's the one who's upset, he's the one asking all the questions.
Reacting,
Right. And it might be fine. It might be Carl's point of view.
Right.
But I can't tell, because sometimes
that's
it's
right. We
Patch's
don't
point
know.
Now,
of
if
view.
it's Carl's point of view, and Carl's only going to first grade,
Then it wouldn't be middle grade. You're right.
Right.
Then
So
that's-
it's probably Patch. You're right.
well, but it doesn't have to be middle grade, right?
That's true.
Well,
That's
what do
true.
you think about what you've read so far? Would you put it more in the 6 to 8
Well, it
range?
depends
or
on what
would you
happens
put
if
it-
there are adventures, if there's.
Yeah,
mischief.
I would have to see the rest of
What-
it. Like,
you
how
would-
dangerous does it get? How crazy does it get?
What do you think about voice? Does that help you at all?
Well, the
determine
voice
that?
is like the characters are cute, but some of the voice is dry. Like I know Ed said that there was some turns of phrases that he liked, but stuff like this made way for the usual awareness a little brother has of
Yeah.
the torment a big brother
Right.
might inflict on any moment.
Right.
Yeah. A middle schooler is never going to talk like that.
What?
Like, that's very dry. That's adult. You don't want to narrate like that. So.
I actually didn't even think that sentence fit, to be honest.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
an
there was some-
example
Yeah, I
of
broke
it's
that
too
up.
adult.
Mature language.
Right.
And I'm not, if you read the Tale of Despereaux, like nobody talks like that either, but the voice is so distinct, and she actually, directly talks to the reader in the Tale of Despereaux. And she does it with such finesse. It's brilliant.
Well,
but
that's a question for this. I mean, right now, this is in third person, and it's an outside observer. So, what do you think about
Would be better.
I think the
like in a
narrator
first
still-
person
Yeah, it might be
thing?
better.
Like
Yeah.
from Patch's point of view, or
Yeah.
Carl's if it's his story or whatever. I mean, that's a drastic kind
Yeah, I
of
would
thing to
definitely
do.
consider
But I think that pulls
changing
you into
that.
the story.
But you definitely have to pick, which one it is, because now you're
Right.
talking about two
You can't
different
move around
ages,
that.
right?
Right, and I don't
Especially
know if-
because it's not like two adults who are 32 and 37. This is two different age groups that
Yes.
you're writing
And there's
for.
other kids that are coming along, because there's Alan and Carter, there's Pam and
We haven't met
Hannah.
Hannah.
So I don't know if, and it's fine if you head hop, but there should be like a chapter break. So this chapter is told from Patch's point of view, and you
Right.
stay with Patch. And this chapter is told from Carter's point of view, and you stay with Carter. And that's okay.
That's actually big
But-
these days.
But
Yes.
yeah, it happens more in young adults. I don't know that it happens that much in middle grade. I think in middle grade, those kids want to identify with
one, yeah.
with one character and the main character and that story character's arc. But for the most part, I think it's sweet.
Well, speaking of the brothers' friendship, I thought on page 2, Carl climbed out of bed, ran across the room, and he jumped in next to Patch, pulled the blanket tight. What's Patch's reaction? He's a
Right.
6th grade boy. This is his 1st grade brother.
Right.
Does he, in a big brother, sweet manner, put an arm around him comfortingly, or does, is that a word, in a comforting manner, does he put his arm around his brother, or does he pull away and turn his back, like, stop it, get out, get away, you're bugging
Or when
me."
he says, don't wear the checkered with the
Yes.
stripes, does he come back and say, well, I really like this? Or why can't I? Does he start
Right,
crying?
and some 6-year-olds are
right?
stuck with patterns or colors or a shirt that.
I mean, my daughter would say, I don't care. She would wear whatever she wanted.
My kids would say, I'm not going to be matchy, okay?
Matchy, oh, I
So
love
last
it.
year.
Yeah, more reactions would
Yes.
be good. And I also felt like that, I mean, maybe this goes with a middle grade book, but I also felt like some of the word choices were ordinary.
Such
like,
as?
like closing the door rather than slamming the door or something
Yes,
like that.
good.
Go,
Strong
go for
words.
Yep.
exactly. Go for words that are have a little more zing in them. Can be good. But yeah,
Just a question, did you write this summary, or did he?
No, I never read the summary.
No,
He did.
he did, he wrote it. Okay, the fourth one, which is, I think, really where the story is. What started as a day of big talk and little action turned into an adventure none of them will ever forget. Well, that vagueness at the end of that sentence, I'm left with the same vagueness at the end of these 5 pages. Where are they going? What are they going to do? What is the big excitement other than school starting? Is there something in their future that is going to give them an adventure they'll never
I
forget?
think it's the dog bowl. I think it starts with them trying to steal food from the dog bowl. That's what I'm
I
assuming.
find that minor. Dave, I agree with you. I want
I
that
think
around.
that
Oh,
that's
Where's
what,
I changed what I
that's
just
what's
said.
going to
then.
kick off.
Where is this
Right.
going?
I could be
wonder
wrong.
where this was going.
I could be wrong.
I think that's a minor incident. Is that funny?
I think that's what's going to kick off the whole, it's going to
Yeah.
go
Oh,
I
terribly
think that's
wrong.
the major piece.
Yeah, I think that's when it
Oh,
kick off the
yeah.
whole story.
If you're right, and you may very well be, then there should be more
She
detail.
often is. You are.
You're always right. No, we take that back too. The attack on the bull may very well be the adventure.
Yeah, because it's the woman,
If it
there's
is,
the
then it
cat.
should be more
think
than just
so,
a
too.
throwaway line
Yes.
Yeah.
in these first 5 pages.
Yeah.
They've tried it before, and it failed, and
Yeah.
and the dog almost, something.
Yes.
more reaction.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the dog isn't even dangerous, like he'll just lick you, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there's a cat, and there's a woman, and they're afraid of them. So there is a, and I think it's okay if the dog is not,
Passive.
murderous, as long as there's some danger, and it can be the cat and the human.
Right.
It's always the cat.
Because it could be that the dog is
Playful.
an ally, you know what I mean? And that's fine.
Let's address this question that James wrote me. And he said, he's read that stories have to always have tension and a lot of action at the beginning. So I kind of want to address that because I don't think that it has to have a ton of action, but there certainly has to be some kind of a conflict.
A vector. You need
Not
a
action,
vector to
yeah.
follow. There's someplace
It has
to
to
go.
be a conflict.
No, I made a note that it's slow moving. It needs to draw in the reader, especially kids.
Especially
middle grade
kids, yeah.
Draw them in sooner.
Right.
Would you please make a note of what James has done? What has he watched?
What do you mean?
Does he enjoy watching?
Oh, our show.
Give him
Yes,
credit.
James has seen every one of our shows.
episode. That's so
I
awesome.
don't think I've seen every episode.
I've seen
Our
one
show.
episode during one of our meetings.
That's right.
did?
And you
Wow.
were mesmerized.
I watched every
I
episode
was
making
taking
our
Alka
video.
Seltzer the whole time.
Actually, that was pieces, though. It wasn't like you sat through one.
that's great.
It
Oh,
was
no.
at the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we showed bits and pieces.
Yeah, so the other thing is to this, from a cliche perspective, you never want to start with a character waking up, and then that's what you do here.
Yep.
So you don't want to start just, I think, my understanding is that there are certain things that agents
That's
and
right,
publishers
idle.
look for.
Yeah.
An alarm clock going off, somebody waking up, somebody looking in the mirror to describe
Right.
themselves. There are just certain
A
things that are
natural
At least there's no
beginning.
weather.
don't start with weather. Yeah, don't start with weather. So there's certain things that you don't start
Well,
with.
we have that
Waking
too.
up is
we have
one
a
of
blog
them.
on that.
Yeah. Oh, do you? Okay. So
Yeah.
read Sue's blog on what not to start.
A dark and stormy night is
A
out.
dark and stormy night, right?
That's how.
It's out.
Yeah. But maybe you'll see that, James, as you read through your story based on what we're talking about, again, it's not like the action has to be running right away, but there has to be some kind of tension and conflict. And so maybe when you get to that point about if the bull and the dog and all that is the big focus, then maybe that's where he can figure out maybe it can start here.
Yeah,
Because honestly, that's how most stories are. We all write our stories and then we end up ditching so many pages at the
Absolutely.
beginning because we're
Yeah.
just
Clearing
our
out
Clear on the
throat.
throat.
Yeah.
so.
No, he does have
That's
some
such a good
tension.
phrase.
I mean, the reason they're waking up is because they're both startled by this noise and
But then it goes
car.
nowhere.
Yeah, it goes
Right,
nowhere.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So that's what
It's
I
not-
thought too.
It's not serious. It's
But this
Right.
there
It's
could
an
be
excuse for
something.
them to wake
Temporary.
up.
But
Yeah.
has this car never driven by again? Because he's.
I know, I thought that too.
Yeah.
It's just someone
But was
leaving
that?
earlier.
Just
Yeah,
the
I
young
think you
man.
just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the whole first
Yeah,
part.
the first paragraphs, I was lost. I didn't know where they were.
I had no idea. Well, I didn't know
Why
the
they
whole
would-
time.
Yeah, well, after a while, you figure out, oh, it's mice. Then you fill in your own mind what
Yeah.
went on, but in the beginning. But I like your idea of, if it is the attack, in the invasion, the Dunkirk of dog food, then start out with them creeping around corners and sensing some tension.
Or they're plotting it. Maybe they're at a table
Yes.
plotting
And
what they're
how
going to do.
far are they
or
from
however
the,
they do.
I'm sorry, the human kitchen where that dog bowl is? Because there are 3 levels to the house and an attic.
Well,
so,
we have no idea.
Right, so I want to know where they're situated, how
Well,
they have to get
the
there.
thing is that, as Dave said, if you don't know that they're mice, you can't tell that they're mice in
Right.
the story.
Or what the scale is.
Right, I don't have
yeah.
any real sense for where they're at. I just know they're in a house, but where are they in the house? And how, what's the structure?
Right.
When you have the mouse and the, Stuart Little, the mouse and the motorcycle, you know what his deal is, where he's living in that hotel in the first book, motel.
Right,
So we
right,
know
Ralph.
some more.
So, I think there's some stuff you can cut to, like the whole thing about Dad's job. Is Uncle Q significant? Get rid of it. You want to get right to the action as quickly as you can. If Uncle Q is significant, then put that in when Uncle
It'll
Q
come
shows
in.
up. Right.
Right.
You don't have to foreshadow Uncle Q.
And if you, sorry. go
Just to
ahead.
kind of, get the story rolling, and maybe they can be sitting at breakfast and raring to go. They want to get out of there. Right now, they're just kind of like, ooh, omelets. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I love omelets, but they're not. I don't want to read about them.
But let's say they're
So-
at breakfast and they're planning. So then if you're planning, people would be planning, they've got their paper. Maybe there's something different about how a mouse plans.
They're
They're using.
hiding it from their parents, so they wouldn't be planning this in front of their parents.
No, I'm not
So
saying in
at
front of
breakfast.
their, right, but they
Yeah.
could be, maybe their parents left already for the day to go, who knows where they are. Maybe it's not breakfast, maybe
Yeah.
it's the middle of the day and their parents are gone, and they've skipped school. I mean, I don't know what the
Yeah.
deal is.
But
But when
also-
they're, my whole
yeah.
point is that when they are planning, wherever they're planning, they have got a toothpick for a pointer and,
Right.
everything's
Exactly.
Yes,
Getting
to
back to
scale,
your,
yes.
getting
Right,
back
that
to your.
they're
Yeah,
mice.
have them have an M-pad. They can plan on an
Oh,
M-pad.
guys,
Yeah.
did we not think of this? They would obviously use a computer and a mouse to.
That's right. Yeah, wireless.
They could have stolen an iPhone, that's kind of small.
Oh.
It's funny because the first line says that they're in a hollow wall, but then we're left.
Forgot
Yes.
that.
In a big house.
Yes.
So
How do you
I
fit
mean,
a kitchen in a hollow
it's
wall?
like-
I wonder how
Yeah,
they outfit that
exactly.
kitchen with pots and
it's
pans.
like
I'm amazed.
do they actually have beds, or are they like matchboxes? Do they
Right,
actually
that would be
have
great.
dressers? Or,
See, that's more Disney-ish
Right,
than
but that's what
sleeping
I'm
in.
saying.
And I think, I agree with you. They wouldn't have a real bed. They'd have a matchbox with stuff in it,
Right.
cotton batting or something.
something, yeah.
I don't know how Tom sleeps, but Jerry has an excellent apartment. Have you ever seen Tom and Jerry? He reaches his paw in, and Jerry has this amazingly appointed, to use my mother's word, appointed apartment with a lovely bed.
But I
and a
think doing an
nice bed.
imagination exercise, like what is in the wall, what is in
Yes.
this is their world. This is where they live.
Right.
anything outside that is the danger zone.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
it's
Right.
no man's
Especially if
land.
there's a cat in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yes.
You know, you could sit down with a
so-
bunch of first graders and they'd come up with all the imagination
Oh, my God,
stuff for 10
exactly.
minutes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I know, right?
Yep.
But I told her not to talk, and now she's probably afraid to answer my question.
But yeah, it's a great
That's a very
point,
good
is to, develop that.
Es-
And what is
establish a
what is
little-
the actual world
Yeah, a little
like?
reality
And
that
all
we,
the details.
that only they can see.
Right, which kids would get a great kick
Absolutely.
out of.
Oh, my gosh,
Yes,
I mean,
they
kids
would.
recognizing this and that, and kids would love that.
And that's where
Yeah.
the creativity, the problem I had was, the story is okay. Clearly, I don't know where it's going.
Right.
It may be the invasion, the
Yeah.
Dunkirk of the dog food,
Yeah.
But it is too ordinary to be considered clever. You have to create, it's like science fiction. You have to create your own environment, something that's
Yes.
completely unique.
Right.
And I'm not seeing that here.
So you need to create the
World
most
building. You're right.
world.
World
Yeah.
building. yeah.
Really
That's
establish
a good
that
point.
world, yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So
What
when,
Yeah, but
When
I-
are they, I just wondered when they're going to deliver the hamburgers. It's freezing in here. Freezing.
the meat
We're in the meat locker.
all right, so anything else that we want to add?
I'm good.
No?
Because I can
Yeah.
summarize.
I think
if
it's a
you want me to
wonderful start, and a
summarize.
very,
Yeah.
a cute little story.
I think
and
we touched on everything.
just take a step backwards and don't try to push the story forward as fast as you have. Go into the laboratory and come out with something unique.
Create the most world.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, and stay in the same tense, so you kind of jump around. You're in past tense, and then you're in
Right,
present tense, and
right,
then you're in
right.
past.
Yeah, oh, I
And then,
fixed
so
that too.
definitely stick with one tense. Decide if it's present or past, and stick with it.
Do you know what, I did like the description of the dresser as a beast with arms and
Yeah,
victims
I
dangling
like
from its
that.
mouth.
That was
That
clever.
very
That was,
clever.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
nice.
I got to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what that means.
Me too.
The
based
beast.
on
He
what.
thought there was a beast, a monster with arms and legs of some
Oh,
creature.
oh,
And
so
imagination
that's when you
dressing
thought-
with the
Those
clothes.
boys.
But
But based on
now
what
I get
Dave
it.
said, the big thing is that
Maybe there's no
it-
dress.
They have a dresser.
We should know
That's
that
true,
they're.
they have a
We
dresser.
should know they're mice.
Yes.
Without, you should be able to take away like telling us they're mice. We should still know they're mice by all their mannerisms and everything
Yeah.
that they do.
When it's like love in a story, you don't tell the reader that this person loves that person. You show experiences and dialogue and environments where then the reader will say, oh, they're in love.
Right.
The same thing with mice.
And he did it in a
It's-
tiny
it's like-
piece. He
Of
said
course.
tucked away his tail. But that was really
Yes.
the only indication.
That was the only thing.
Well,
That's
the
only
amazing
thing.
mouse blanket, I thought that was.
They
Well,
should have,
that's-
they should have
Superman,
whiskers,
amazing.
they should
Any
have
kid can have
fur,
True.
all of
Yes.
this stuff.
They
Yeah.
should be gnawing. They need to be gnawing or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brushing his two front teeth.
Yes.
You know, huge
Filing
two front
them,
teeth.
right? Or is that rats? Yeah.
I
don't
will. James, thank you so much for submitting and for watching our
Yes.
shows. We hope that this episode, we hope it's given you a lot of good feedback, and we've all marked up the pages as well, from an editing standpoint, and some more comments that you can get. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the next show for Writers Infusion. Thank you, and what else do I usually end with?
writing.
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Right. With a thumb.